our second video from the Gen Inspire section of Generation Hope, and what we've got now is Ricky Otto, who we'll be interviewing, who's got a great life story. It could almost be like the whole rags to riches type of thing. So enjoy this. Ricky, thank you once again.
Pleasure to be
obviously
here,
for allowing us to obviously interview and talk about your life. Now, one of the things obviously what we want to do, I know you've got a great story to tell, but there's so much things that we can talk about. So it's like, where do we start? What kind of things do we want to highlight? But I think the best place to start, in the old cliche, is to start right at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you just let us know and tell us about your beginning, you know, especially the part obviously with incarceration, which a lot of people probably don't know about you. Mm-hmm. So if we just start there, or wherever you feel would be the appropriate place to start.
Absolutely. I was born in Hackney, London.
Yeah.
And I have two brothers, and I was raised by my mum. I didn't set eyes on my dad until I was 19 years of age. Wow. By that time, I'd already been in prison 4 times. 4 times, yes. Right. My first custodial sentence was just as I turned 17. Yeah. That was for 5 robberies. And I had got 25 months to run concurrent, which in effect was that I got 5 months. Yeah. That was in 1984. And then I was released in February of 85. Yeah. And then I think of that summer, I went on remand for a month for another robbery case that got thrown out eventually. In that year, 85, October the 25th, I believe, I got sentenced to 8 months. Yeah. Then I was released in March 1986. Then I done another 2 months remand by early 87. It was in 1987, that's when I actually met my dad for the first time. So again, by that stage, I'd already been in prison 4 times, and I had another 2 robbery cases outstanding.
Well, here's a question, because obviously, you know, you be classified now as that tag and that label of repeat offender. But let's go back to the first point. Was it your environment? Was it because you felt like, you know, you talked about your dad wasn't being there, that your father wasn't around? What was the catalyst for you even getting to that place where we talked about the 5 robberies? What was the catalyst, would you say, was it accumulation of different things, or? Well,
personally, at the time, I didn't really give it that much thought. I just thought to myself, well, I wasn't doing well in school, although academically, I was very good. Yeah. But I was just mischievous. Yeah. So I was always finishing off my work and then really just starting to disrupt the class. And because of the kind of a mouthy person I was, if the teacher did say something, I'd always have an answer back. So every other day I was outside the headmaster's office. So I wouldn't say school had anything to do with it. I think to a degree at that time I was just mischievous. And I think, you know, as you leave school with no qualifications, and then, you know, you look at your environment, you know, there's 2 choices. Yeah. You either make a choice to go into 6th form, which will take you to college, and then to university, which is what my big brother done. Yeah. But because I was out of school by the time I was 14, I went to special schools, I had home intuition, but by the time I was 14, I was already out of school. Yeah. So by the time I started to hang out on streets at, say, maybe late 15, right, I found myself really just hanging around with like-minded people. Right. Because I believe if you're not in school, if you're not in college, if you're not in university, then you're on the street. And if you're on the street, you tend to going to be with people that have the same kind of a background as you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Which case, you'll start hanging out at pool cafes, and then that's where you see your peer groups. Yeah. You start to see the older men them now, who's like wearing the crocskin shoes, wearing the, you know, the gold chaparitas and the ducats and all that, and you know they're ducking and diving and making a living. Yeah. But you see people who are making money, so straight away you start to think to yourself, well, this is the lifestyle that I like because I have the freedom to do what I like, when I like, and how I like. Yeah. Right. So therefore, my peer groups were these big men that were hanging out at the pool cafes. Yeah. So naturally, you start moving into a mode of saying, well, look, at the end of the day, this is all new to me. You know, I'm late 15 years of age. It's a big wild world out there. But I need money, because if I'm going to look like them man there, I need to get money. And then for the first time, you start to think, well, how am I going to make money if I don't have no qualifications, if I'm not in 6th form, if I'm not in college? So the question is,
what am I going to do? So this is a funny thing, is, you know, some people talk about people having time of reflecting when you get to 40 years old. You know, I start to reflect on life, but you were reflecting on life at 15.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what am I going to do now? I'm not good at school. I'm not, you know, where am I going to place myself?
Yeah, but I would say that reflection was a negative reflection because I was actually I thought I was cool.
Yeah.
I thought I was a bad man because remember, all my school life I was a bully.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was bullying people, making people's lives a misery in school.
Yeah.
Hence why I got flung out of school.
Yeah.
Do you understand? My mum was exasperated by me by this stage.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 15 and on street, this life is what I felt was the way to go. Do you understand? Because it suited my ego.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm a bad man. I want to make a reputation for myself, and therefore I'm going to hang around with people who are like that.
Yeah.
So inadvertently, you're naturally going to want to move into crime, because crime now, it gives you that kind of ability to showcase who you are.
Yeah.
So if I'm 15, 16, 17 and I'm wearing a little ducat chain,
Yeah.
a little gold chaparita bracelet,
Yeah.
sovereigns, and you know I'm wearing the clothes,
Yeah.
the man's going to look at me like a dapper.
Yeah.
A man's going to think to myself, well, yeah, man, he's an earner. He's making change. And that
Yeah.
boosts your reputation.
So here's a question, because as you're saying that now, was you looking for the approval? I don't know if the words are approval or the status from your peers, just as much as you're just looking for the financial rewards, or was it a combination of the two? Because obviously you had your peers and you were trying to show them that, look, I'm making it as well, okay, and that's the approval type of scenario. But also obviously you wanted the nice things as well. What was the driving force?
It goes hand in hand, because
Right.
at the end of the day, if you're on street, there's two type of men on street.
Yeah.
There's the punk, the idiot, the fool,
Yeah.
and there's the man who's cutting it.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So naturally, the only way people can look at you and say to yourself, yeah, man, you're cutting it,
Yeah.
is if you are making the money.
Yeah.
Because if you're not making no money, then you can't wear the clothes, and if you can't wear the clothes, then girls ain't gonna like you, so
Yeah.
you can't carry that whole swagger.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I personally think it goes hand in hand, because once you made up your mind, or from when I done my first burglary or my first robbery, do you know what I mean? You get
Yeah.
that taste for money.
Yeah.
So the whole approval or the whole status, it goes hand in hand, because man is only going to notice you if you're making money.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because what happens is sometimes if you've got the videos or the televisions or the stereos or you've
Yeah.
got the book and cards,
Yeah.
right, then you're going to the big man them there to sell it. So therefore, you get that kind of affirmation from the big men. And when you're now standing with the big guys, do you know what I mean? That boosts your reputation. So I personally think it goes hand in hand, because if you're going to be on the street, you're either going to make money or you're going to be classed as a fool.
Yeah. And here's the thing, that I wasn't even thinking about this for this interview. When I looked through your background and your biography, it wasn't something I was actually going to touch on, but it's a valid point for someone probably looking at this, because you mentioned that your father wasn't around.
Yeah.
So you would then obviously getting the status from older people who were
Absolutely.
achieving certain things.
Men.
Okay, men, yeah, as a role model.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a big impact when someone who's looking at this, who may have a son or may have a child, and thinks, I won't see them. They're still going to look for somebody to fill that position, whether you're there or not.
Absolutely.
And the problem is that influence could be negative.
Absolutely.
In your case.
Yeah, well,
That's
in my
right.
case, it was that, because, as again, and the funny thing is, growing up in Hackney, I say 80% of my friends,
Yeah.
we all grew up in single parent families.
Right.
So it seemed like it was the norm. At that time, I didn't feel like it, I was at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
It was just the norm.
Wait.
Sometimes I think to myself, I wish I did have a dad around, because,
Yeah.
my mum, she took beatings to a whole new level.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
that's
mean?
it, yeah.
I think if my dad was around, I would have had less beatings, because my mum, she took it to another stratosphere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just seemed normal, because everyone around us was growing up in single parent families.
Yeah.
But the reality is, when we now started to learn about male masculinity, right, I was learning that from the street.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have none of that at home. I had two uncles, but one of them was in the army in Germany,
Yeah.
and my other uncle, he was always away, so we didn't see him as regular.
Yeah, yeah.
So my male masculinity, I learned from the street.
Street. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you was already against the odds from an angle. So obviously you've now got this criminal record and things like that. Now one of the things that you hear, and I don't really want to talk about this too much, but I think it's interesting to go down here, is that people say, well, you go in, why didn't you not change? The first time, was it no fear? Or, what kept you then going down that slippery slope of doing even more crimes, going back into jail?
The funny thing is, when I was 15,
Yeah.
I got arrested, and I was going to the juvenile court for so many different crimes, theft and everything like that. And I just kept getting supervision orders.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as I turned 17, the judge gave me an option to do community service.
Yeah.
But because I've been going in and out of court from the juvenile courts, and by this time my reputation is building up on the street.
Yeah.
So when the judge said to me, right, well, the solicitor came to me and says, Rick, the judge, they're looking at giving you a community order.
Yeah.
Well, I said to the solicitor, look, I'm not doing no community order. I'm not sweeping those streets or clean up no one's house. So the solicitor looked at me and says, but the only other alternative is that you're going to get sent into custody. I said, well, send me into custody.
Wow.
Do you understand? And he says, what are you saying? I said, send me into custody because I'm not doing no community order.
Yeah.
You see, because at that time, I realised that I was ready to go to the next level in terms of building up my reputation.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because if I can now go to prison and cut it in prison, do you understand? My reputation is going to shoot up.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So I didn't think of the consequences of, okay, you know, do a community order, stay on street. Because by this stage, I'd bought into the whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm a bad man, I'm on street, you know, I do robberies and I do burglaries by day. Do you know what I mean? Making money so I can live that street lifestyle. So when it came time for me to go to prison, I welcomed it. Now, when I first went in there, I said to myself, boy, I was talking to men that had been in there young offenders at the time, that had been in 3-4 times, and I was looking at them saying, what's the matter with you, man?
Yeah, what's going on?
You know, how could you come in 3-4 times? Because although I put myself in there,
Yeah.
I kind of realised after a couple of weeks, yeah, man, I don't want this no more. It's rubbish. You know what I mean? I'm just wasting time.
Yeah.
But the $6 million question, what you asked is, how comes I was going back again? Because it's that lifestyle. There is a certain, how can I say, enjoyment, although it's negative, right? You do buy into the whole lifestyle. So when you come out again, right, your people are treating you like a celebrity because you're out again. And after a couple of weeks, remember, I don't have no qualifications, right? I'm not going to college. Do you know what I mean? So again, I've bought into the whole lifestyle. So therefore, I believe that, you know what, if I'm just a little bit more smarter, right, then I can make my money and not get caught. And what happens is, when you go in prison for the first time, the unfortunate situation is, every time you get arrested, you're getting flung in prison again. Do you understand? And that's where I went on remand again for a month, came back out, and then by that stage now, I went back into prison for 8 months, came out, done another 2 months remand before I got my 4-year sentence.
Wow. And here's the thing that you said lifestyle, and the thing that sprang to me when you said lifestyle was mindset. So when we say you got into that mindset,
absolutely. So
it's not just about taking someone out and putting them into a nice area, or, you know, throwing them into a job per se. You've got to change their mindset. What's going on up there, because they've bought into this lifestyle, and this mindset now is, this is my world. Absolutely. This is my thing.
Yeah, and also, this is, you know, at that stage, you believe that this is where you can function better.
Yeah.
Because you build up an antisocial type of an attitude. Yeah. It's me against society.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we even looked at people that was working, and we looked at them as fools.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we had friends that was working as well, and then over evening they'll hang around with us. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But we kind of looked at them as fools because, you know, you're not taking risks. You're not bad. You know what I mean? So therefore, you build up, you get this mindset that, hey, well, I'm never going to work. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And really, who's going to employ me anyway now I've got a criminal record? So I might as well be as bad as I can be and take it to its full limit. Yeah.
And this is the thing. We talk about when you talk about schooling, yes, there was mischievous. They'd be mischievous. And then to like the 17, that's like a 2-year window.
Absolutely.
Where your mindset in such a short time was just radicalized. Yeah. To say, this is the way I'm going to be. Yeah. And that was a lot of influence, isn't it? That was a lot of pressure, a lot of things coming at you to be able to take and change your mindset, because you're a young guy at this time.
Absolutely.
You know, great. It sounds like you had a great parent, you know, in terms of your mum and things like that. Your brother was doing well, but somehow their influences were able to capture you, and in 2 years, just radically change you from just being mischievous to now being a full-blown criminal.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think at that time, remember, up until around 15, most of us would have had you know, living at home, you'd have to be coming in at a certain time. Yeah. But, you know, as youth, you kind of push the boundaries. So, you know, when my mum was saying I've got to be in by 10 o'clock, you know, you try and push it to 11. But I think when you get to around 15 years of age, I think for me, I was able to stay out a lot longer. Yeah. And because you're staying out a lot longer and life seems so, it's a new world. Yeah. Remember, you know, I start smoking cigarette. Yeah. You know, I'm starting to recognise girls. Yeah, yeah. You know, your hormones are all over the place, and you're staying out late, and it's all that kind of, well, I don't have to get up in the morning to do anything. Yeah. So straight away, like you said, in that 2 years, so much is happening that kind of empowers your ego. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That what you're doing right now is what life is all about. Because remember, in terms of academia, in terms of career-wise, I wasn't thinking about that from 14, 13. So by the time I get to 15, you know, all I'm thinking about is life in terms of fun.
Yeah.
Want to do what I want to do. I want to express myself. And this is the way I was expressing myself. Staying out late, smoking cigarette, you're drinking, you got your little girl crew, and it just escalates from there. Because now when you're looking at the big man them who's making money, you're now wanting to be the big man with your own peers.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And that's where it really, escalates.
So now you're at the stage where I think you just alluded to that you had 4 years now.
Got sentenced to 4 years at the Old Bailey, yeah.
Yeah, for 4 years now. Was that a shock to the system? Because maybe you had 5 months and things like that, but a big sentence. This is a fairly long time.
Absolutely.
Was that a shock to the system? Was that enough to get you to think? Because maybe a length of sentence would have been, to most people, I don't know, I say this now, not being in jail, but wow, do you know what, I need to change. Yeah. Was that enough? Did that trigger a change?
Absolutely. Because like I said before, the other 4 times I was in young offenders institutions.
Yeah.
And when you're with people your own age group, everyone's on a boost tip. Do you know what I mean? Trying to say what they done and they didn't. Trying to say they make this amount of money. Yeah. But you look at them, they ain't getting no visits from nobody. Do you know what I mean? But you're trying to convince me that you've made 10 grand and 20 grand and all that, mate. And your trainers are falling off your feet. But prison is a different ball game, because for the first time in my life at that stage, I realised that this thing isn't just for young offenders.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I mean, I'd done 18 months on remand. Yeah. And this was in 1987. And some of the remand I'd done in Brixton prison. So I was able to be around big men. And for the first time, you realise that, hey, you're with man that's old enough to be your father.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you're looking at big men picking up butts. Do you know what I mean? To smoke because they haven't got no tobacco.
Yeah.
And that really hit home. And especially when I went to Wandsworth prison, because at the time Wandsworth was deemed as the worst prison in Europe.
Yeah, wow.
So when I got my 4-year sentence, by that stage I'd already done 18 months on remand, so I had 14 months left to do.
Yeah.
I went from Brixton, I went to Wandsworth. And funny enough, it was when I was in Wandsworth. And by this stage, I was well talented at football. Yeah. Remember, because I was playing football from 8 years of age. Yeah. But we'll get into that. But what happened is, every time I go to a prison, because we have gym time. Yeah. And when you go to gym, prisoners love their football. Yeah. And when you go in there, no one don't know you. When they're picking a team, you're normally the last person to be picked. Yeah. And they always say, "Can you play, mate?" And I always have like, "Yeah, I'm okay." I'm alright. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yes. And then after, by the time the session finished now, do you know what I mean? I'm known by everyone in the prison.
Yeah, you could pick the teams then.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that happened in Wandsworth. And after a couple of days, I think I was in Wandsworth for about 2 weeks. After a couple of days, 2 guys came into my cell, and I thought, hold a minute, what have I done there? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? My heart started racing, hold a minute. And I call this the rough up moment for me. When these 2 guys came into my cell and they sat down with me and they said, "Rick, you're taking liberties with us, mate." I said, "What do you mean? What have I done?" Yeah. They said, "No, mate, you're taking liberties." And I says, "I'm lost." Yeah. They said, "Listen, mate, what we saw in that gym, right? You're having a laugh, mate. Wow. Man like that ain't supposed to be coming in this prison with that kind of talent, mate. If I was in prison with that kind of talent, let me tell you something, I wouldn't have no friends. It would just be me, the football, and I'd be in a park, mate. What you doing in here?" Fantastic. "How old are you?" I said, "I've just turned 21. Yeah. He said, "Listen, mate, you're taking liberties and you need to get out of there and do something with your life." And for me, that was a catalyst for when I had to say to myself for the first time, boy, and it was mixed in with the fact that being in big man prison, looking at men in their 50s, I said to myself, I can't be coming out of here when I'm 30. Yeah. I can't. Do you know what I mean? I've got to get on the inside what I know is good of me, on the outside. Yeah. But I had to break down all this mindset of the bad man image, what my friends who I've grown up with, is man going to think that I'm soft?
So you're 21 years old now.
Yeah.
From the time of like 15 to 21, was that the first time, bar your mum and things like that, was that the first time that someone spoke a word of encouragement to say you can do something better than what you see, if that makes sense? Because that was a quite...
In a strong way.
Yeah.
Because, there was a couple of male adults that I remember, just a couple of like my mum's friends. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But their talk was more just soft. Do you know what I mean? I think when they saw me play football, they was like, "Oh, you're okay. Yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? Come and play for my team." And I went to play for one of their team. But this was the first time it was just strong. It was straight to the point. Do you know what I mean? And I think because of where I was as well, I think the whole being in prison, do you know what I mean? Yeah. this is my 5th time in prison. It's a big sentence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm used to being in prison for a couple of months and then I'm out again.
Yeah,
I was watching people leave and come back all 2-3 times, and I'm still on the same sentence. So, you know, I had a lot of time then to reflect. So by the time this encounter happened with these 2 guys, I really had to think to myself, you know what? These are, I mean, one of them was doing 17 years for armed robbery.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So, again, because they were my peers and I respected them, you know, them men have seen money.
Yeah,
they know, you know, they know what it is.
Yeah.
So
the pinnacle of that industry, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I listened to them, and you know, from that period, I started to think to myself, well, you know what, Rick? This is what the guy said to me. He says, Rick, don't serve the time.
Yeah.
Let the time serve you.
So don't serve the time.
Don't serve the time.
Yeah.
Let the time serve you. And naturally, I said, what do you mean? He said, well, listen, you've already got the talent. He says, you know what you need to do? Live in that gym. Eat right. Strengthen your body and your mind so that when you come out, you can hit the floor running. Because you've got the talent.
Fantastic.
Right? So use this time right now. You've got your last 14, 15 months. Don't serve this time by sitting down there, mate, and just la-di-da-di-da. Let this time serve you. You got free gym, right?
Yeah.
We work in the kitchen. We can give you certain food. Use this time. Yeah. And that's what I started to do. So I became gym orderly. And as a gym orderly now, every day I'm in the gym. Yeah. So I can be playing football 3-4 times a day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I've got the weights there. So that's what I've done. I didn't serve the time, I let the time serve me.
So you have hope. So the thing is, because I'm trying to see, like, if someone else is in your situation, and you're coaching someone who's in that situation, we'll talk about the business that you do later, is that you've got to somehow give them hope that there is a better way, and instill that, because it's like those words gave you hope.
Absolutely.
And that from that hope, something sprung up in you to say, do you know what, I'm going to do something in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always a pivotal moment in life, you know, and for me it was being in prison, the length of my sentence, do you know what I mean, around big men, and really just fed up. Yeah. Saying, Rick, I mean, my friends, they weren't coming to visit me. Yeah. They weren't coming to visit me, so I realised for the first time, hold on a minute, man, all this like, blood, we're here to die, and they weren't there visiting me, so you know, it was a culmination of everything. I realised that my friends ain't my friends. Yeah. They ain't got my back. Yeah. They're not there for me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? When they come up, they couldn't even bring me no puff. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I had to. All of that was my pivotal moment. For somebody else, it could be something different. Yeah. But for me, that was my pivotal moment when I believed that I started to take the footsteps of desistance. Yeah. What we call the termination point of offending. Yeah. That was my catalyst moment, and for me, that's when I started to really. You know, when we was watching football on television in there, I'm looking at these footballers and I'm now saying to myself, I can play better than that. Yeah. Remember, my background in football, I was growing up around Tony Adams, Paul Ince, David Rocastle, Mickey Thomas. Those were all my age groups. So when I was playing for my district, these are the guys that I was playing against at like 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. Do you understand? But then as I got into street crime, I moved away from football. Yeah. Do you understand? So again, it was just about regurgitating what was already there in terms of my talent, and now starting to believe that I can be a footballer. Yeah. I am good enough, and that's why I didn't serve that time in the end. I let that time serve me.
So here's the situation now. Then pivotal moment now. You've got this hope. You've got this dream. You've got this passion now. The day of release, you come out. Big decision: draw of the past or the pull of the future. What happened then?
Well, I came out, and naturally, you do get drawn to wanting to commit crime again, because the reality is, while you've been inside for 3 years, the world has moved forward. Yeah. Do you understand? And people are working or people are getting on with their life. Yeah. So when I came out, after 2 weeks of being out, you know, the novelty wears off. Yeah. Do you understand? And you're left with a decision. Well, what am I going to do now for money? Do you understand? Because I have no qualifications, you know, anything that I was going to do academic-wise was going to be a long thing. Yeah. So I had to focus all my energies on football. But did I commit crime? Yeah, twice. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that was probably the most scareful moment in my life when I committed the crime, because at that time I was just so broke. I was living at my brother's house, and meaning was just there was no food in the cupboard. Do you understand? I had no money. Yeah. I was hungry. Do you understand? And I've been out about 4 months. Yeah. Do you understand? Because when I came out, I was with my girlfriend, and I was living there for 3 months. But because I was still rough-minded,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? We finished,
Yeah.
or she finished with me because I think she could see that I'm maybe getting tempted back into that lifestyle,
yeah.
and she wasn't
Right,
about to wait another 3 years.
Yeah.
So she finished with me. So the only place I can go was my brother's house. Well, at my brother's house, man, we got to the stage where we were so broke.
Yeah.
So broke.
Yeah, yeah.
I just got out one morning and I said, Sean, listen, bruv, come.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it was the most scariest time for me because I realised, wait, if I get catch for this, all those dreams are done.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And my biggest fear was being in a big man prison and coming out at 30 because I knew by then it's over, it's too late.
Right, Ricky, so obviously we've got this pivotal time now. You're out, okay? Obviously you're going to now use his talent, and obviously we know where that talent potentially took you, but talk us about that journey. Because you don't, end up playing for Birmingham City overnight. There was a new journey and a new path that you were now following. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was so... And I don't know where this confidence came from.
Yeah.
But, before I was released from prison, there was a couple of people that I was telling them that, listen, when I come out, the next time you'll see me again is on television. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And when I was released, I was telling my mum and my brother. Now, my brother Wayne, he's into sports. He's a world champion, nine world titles at karate, 8 British titles. Do you know what I mean? So he was into sports himself, and he was doing very well at that time. So when I come out, I was saying to my mum and my brother, listen, I'm going to play football. This was after about 4 months. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I remember it vividly. My brother was sitting down eating some food in the kitchen. Yeah. I was at the kitchen door. My mum was doing the dishes. And I was saying, listen, man, trust me. You're going to see me on television one day. Yeah. My brother just looked up and said, Ricky, man, shut up, man. Do you know what I mean? Because after 4 months, I think a lot of people thought, well, it's just going to be natural process of me going back into crime. Yeah. Because I hadn't, gone to job centre. I hadn't talked about anything academic. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I was just talking about football. So what happened is when I started to play for this non-league side, after about 8 weeks, there was a lot of interest being generated. And then I remember I got the call. I came home one day, and by the way, this was at the time when there weren't even no mobile phones. This was 1990. You know what I mean? So literally, I was out all day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I just decided to pop over to my mum's. And when I pop over there, my mum says she just had a phone call from my football manager at the time. And he says that I've got to report to Frank Clark at Leyton Orient Football Club next week. So my mum says, who is Leyton Orient? I said, you know that football club that's over there? She goes, yeah. I said, wicked. And my mum's like, all right. Yeah. You haven't even got in yet? I says, Mum, what club have I gone to and ever been refused? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Wow. So I went for the trial on the Monday, and I kind of knew that I was in by about Wednesday. Yeah. Right? So the trial went successful. I sat down with Frank Clark and the coach Peter Eustace at the time, and we just had a little bit of a talk about my background, because obviously they was interested. They just wanted to see where I was at, because obviously you can't plough money into someone and then I might go back into crime. But I think from that conversation they saw how serious I was about trying to turn my life around. Yeah. What they done, they put me on a month-to-month contract. Yeah. So obviously I was playing in the reserves. My first reserve game I scored a goal, and I was naturally left-footed. So again, my pedigree was always football. Yeah. So it was nothing new for me getting into this environment. Do you know what I mean? It's something that I couldn't. It was, to me, it was like water for duck's back. Yeah, your natural gift. Then. It was my natural gift. Yeah. The banter and everything that went with it. Yeah. So after 3 months, they signed me on an 18-month contract. But I remember, if I can just add, after the week's trial, because remember, about 2 months before that, I said to my brother and my mum, I'm going to play football. Yeah. And they just rubbished me out the kitchen. Yeah. And then I remember after the week, they said that they're going to offer me a professional contract. I think it was only for about £100 a week. Yeah. But I didn't care how much it was. Just give me the contract. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I remember Leyton Orient was about 1.5 miles, because where Leyton Orient is now, across the road is where the Olympic Stadium is now. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I can literally walk across Hackney Marshes and I'll be home. Listen, man, that was the most brisk walk with my contract in my hand. And there was only one destination, to my mum's house. And trust me, when I walked into that house, man, I just shoved that blue contract up in her face, mate.
Told you.
Do you know what I mean? But it was just a joyful moment for me and my mum. Yeah. Because I'd achieved my dream. Do you know what I'm saying? Although the work now started in terms of training every day, it was hard on the body at first. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I stuck at it because it's what I always wanted to do.
Let me just pull up a point that you mentioned as well. I want you to tell us if you think it's important as well. you spoke words to yourself. So even though it feels like you were speaking to your mom and your brother, you were speaking words to yourself. It feels like, I am going to make it. That is it now. There's no going back. How is it important? Because at that time, those two people that you met in jail who gave you that confidence to say, you know, go out there and go and make it, they weren't there now. You know, you still never had no father around. You still had, it doesn't sound like anybody else pushing you to say you're going to do this. You know, it was your own words now. How powerful are your own words in achieving your goals?
Oh, immense. Because anybody can say they're going to do something.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe it, the chances are you'll just like be driven and, you know,
yeah,
thrown all over the place
yeah.
with whatever people are doing. By me affirming to myself that I'm going to do something, it kept my dream alive. And I think if you say something long enough,
yeah.
you'll start to believe it. Why? Because when I was speaking into my situation, I now started to visualize myself like that.
Yeah.
Now let's be honest. The mentality was still there in terms of wanting to be seen as a dapper.
Yeah.
But it just shifted.
Yeah.
Because I realised that, you know what, I didn't want to be looked upon as a criminal, because I know with that lifestyle, chances are I'm going to be in and out of prison.
Yeah.
Not only that, but a lot of my friends started to die. I had 12 friends that died from gunshot wounds and stabbings. And they weren't going on half as bad as I was before I went to prison. So, I knew that I had this troublesome or this rebellious nature that, Rick, if I continue with that lifestyle, the chances are I'm probably going to be dead.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a massive scar down my belly and scar there from one night of trouble anyway. So, you know, I didn't want to go down that life.
Yeah.
So for me, by reaffirming to myself that I am going to do it, that I am good enough, I started to believe it and I started to visualize it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So I was able to say to my friends and everything, listen, if you don't see me, right, it's not because I'm dissing you, but I'm just chasing my dream now.
Yeah.
And they actually just respected that.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
So you just transferred what was already there.
Yeah.
Because you had all that, and when you was on the streets, you going all out. You were 100% committed, which
yeah,
I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to wear the best. I'm going to be known as the best criminal.
Right. That's right.
And then you just transferred what was
that's
there.
Right. Yeah.
No different.
I just transferred the playing field
to the. That's it.
Yeah.
You just transferred the playing
I just
field.
transferred the playing field because
Fantastic.
I'm an all or nothing person anyway.
Yeah.
You know, if I do something, I do it all the way.
Yeah.
If I say I'm your friend, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
For life. Do you understand? If we're gonna get into crime, let's do it properly.
Yeah.
Well, when I realised that, you know, this life ain't getting me nowhere, my friends ain't really my friends.
Yeah.
Right? I have to carve out a life for myself. The only thing I'm good at is football.
Yeah.
So I literally said to myself, Rick, I'm gonna give myself 2 years. If after 2 years it looks like nothing ain't happening with the football, then I will pick up the gun and I will go on as bad as I need to go on, as bad as I have to.
Yeah.
Do you understand? But praises to God that when I started playing football, everything happened in 2 months.
Fantastic.
Do you know, because as soon as I started playing football for Haringey Borough, within 2 months, I had the trial with Leyton Orient, and in that week, I signed professional.
Fantastic. So now you're at Leyton, everything's going well, okay? You know what I mean? Was there any times of temptation to go back? Did anything, because one of the things that we see sometimes is someone can have the percent and the claw back in. Was that you were just now tunnel vision?
Not a chance. Not a chance. I mean, it was so weird. You got to understand that, you know, Leyton Orient or Leyton is right next door to Hackney. Yeah. What separates Leyton is just Hackney Marshes.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So the Hackney Gazette records all of Leyton Orient's games and the reserves and everything. So you got to understand this. I was now coming in the Hackney Gazette every other week.
Yeah.
Now this is no surprise to people that know me from school and me playing football, because in my school days, from 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, I was coming in the Hackney Gazette papers every week anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, by that stage, when I turned professional, there was no way.
Yeah.
There was no way I was going back.
Yeah.
You know, because once I got in that door, I shut that door and I bought my own hammer and nails and I bolted that door. And I said, I'm in now. Yeah. And listen, Jed, I ain't coming out.
Forget it.
Do you understand? Yeah. But what also happened as well is that the pride that I saw in my mum, my brother, and the streets, it's almost like the streets just embraced me as one of them and made sure that I now kept focus.
So there's a thing. Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants really people to be successful.
Absolutely.
It's just how do you obtain that?
How do you obtain that?
And they were happy that you were obtaining success for doing it the right way.
Well, remember, right? Only people that I went to school with knew that I can play football to this level.
Yeah.
The majority of people and friends that I made whilst on the street were flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Because it was like saying, Where did that come from?
Yeah.
When did you have time to play football at that level?
Yeah.
A certain man was saying, listen, brethren, hear what, from Millfield, from primary school,
Yeah.
he was always supposed to make it.
Yeah.
So that's where, certain people who I knew, when I started to play football, I had man screeching up their cars, jumping up, running across the road to grab me.
Yeah.
I mean, they were grabbing me.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
With excitement. When they started to see me on television, I had other people just in tears.
Yeah.
In tears. Saying, Ricky, I am so glad that you turned your life around, because most of the people that I started to know on the street, they were just waiting for me to die.
Yeah.
Because that was the lifestyle I was living. I was troublesome. I was boisterous.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But when I turned my life around, the joy that I felt, not only from my family, but also from people who I didn't realise actually was watching me.
Yeah.
Or looking at where my life was going.
Fantastic.
So that I felt like I had the whole of Hackney behind me anyway. So there was no chance of me going back to the streets. Not a chance. At that stage, I realised that something's not right.
Yeah.
Something is not right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And why I say that is because a man just doesn't come out of prison 5 times and just achieves his dream without something happening. And I suppose at that stage, that's when I probably started thinking about, well, where is my life really going? Because boy, can I top this?
Yeah.
Or what kind of a person or man am I going to be? So at that time, it was just fantastic to be playing football and getting paid for doing something that I absolutely love doing.
Fantastic. And obviously, that accumulated in signing for my team.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. All right, and they're doing great now, so it's easy for me to talk about it. At the moment. They're flying at the moment for Birmingham City. Okay, so how did that feel? Because I think at the time, it was like a transfer fee of 800,000.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what happened is, after 2.5 years of playing for Leyton Orient, I signed for Southend United for 120, 125, 150,000. Yeah. And at the time, the manager there was Barry Fry.
Yeah.
And Barry Fry was always a person, he'd always give a man a chance.
Yeah.
I think because of his experiences on the street and his upbringing, he just had an eye for giving those that I think the football fraternity considered as problem players a chance. And the truth is, we wasn't problem players.
Yeah.
I think our personalities are just strong, and I think in football, some managers probably see strong personalities as problem players. But Barry Fry just had a knack of getting these kind of players and making a team of us. So he brought me to Southend, and my time at Southend after 18 months was very successful. Was playing in the first division, and I was their leading goal scorer. And then when Barry Fry went to Birmingham City, obviously, as you know, managers always bring certain players that they've worked with before. So at the time, Barry Fry came in, and for me, at that time, I felt that I wanted to live outside of London. Do you know what I mean? I always visualised that, as I get older, I will live outside of Hackney. And up until this point, I was still living in Hackney. I was living at my mum's at the time when I was at Southend. Because my relationship with my mum was fantastic.
Awesome.
I was always close with my mum. I understood that my mum was only angry with me because of my lifestyle. So I didn't want to go and rent out no flat. While I was making good money at Southend, I live at home with my mum. Do you know what I mean? And look after her, sort of thing. So that was good. So I was ready for a challenge outside of London. So when Birmingham City came in, it just felt like a natural progression for me to sign for Barry. I'd worked with him before. So I became Birmingham City's record signing for 800,000 in the 94-95 season.
How do you feel? Because obviously you had the pressure of the streets, okay? The pressure to then make it when you came out, but now you got the pressure of being a record signing, and those are all pressures. Those are all things that you have to live up to. When you're in the streets, you have to live up to this bravado of this is who I am, okay? Then when you came out, you have to live up to that expectation that you set yourself in front of your parents that I am going to be a professional footballer. And now you've got to live up to the status that you're now their most expensive signing. How did you feel like with that pressure?
It was heavy. If I'm honest, when I look back on it now, I suppose at the time I probably thought that I was dealing with it. Do you know what I mean? But on reflection now, it was heavy. Do you understand? Because I think what a lot of people don't understand is that when you sign for a club, especially if it's a club where you have to relocate, do you know what I mean? That comes with its own challenges. I'm in a place where I don't really know no one. Do you know what I mean? So after training, I will be going back to my hotel. And it kind of makes you realise that you can have all the money and all the trappings, but I think there's a certain foundation or you know, what's the word I'm looking for? You need that certain stability.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That I think helps you to be able to perform to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
So for me, when I first moved to Birmingham, I was in a hotel for 5 months because obviously I had to buy a house.
Yeah.
And although I had a couple of friends that, you know, tried to make the transition as comfortable,
Yeah.
you know, they're going back home and then
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
got their
yeah.
own life. So, you know, I suppose on reflection, the move was big. And at the time, Barry Fry, he wasn't actually managing Birmingham how he managed Southend.
Yeah.
So what Barry done, he built me up to be this out-and-out goal scorer.
Yeah.
Now, when I was at Southend, yes, I scored 15 goals and was my leading goal scorer for Southend, but I was a winger.
Yeah.
I wasn't a striker.
Yeah.
Barry built me up to be a striker.
Yeah.
So when I came to Birmingham, and I played against Birmingham City twice,
Yeah.
home and away when I was at Southend, and I absolutely terrorised them.
Yeah.
But I was a winger.
Yeah.
What Barry done now, he got it into the minds of the fans that I was a striker. So therefore, when I was playing on the wing, it's almost like I started off on the wrong footing.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think the expectations of the crowd was enormous.
Yeah.
And when I wasn't actually scoring the goals, you know, obviously the pressure of the fans obviously takes its toll.
Yeah.
So I didn't get off to the start I wanted, really. And because Barry Fry, at that time, we had about 50 odd players in the squad.
Yeah.
And Barry was chopping and changing the players according to results.
Yeah.
So there was never no stability in the team, so I could never build up no momentum
Yeah.
to showcase what I can do. I would show flashes.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're the record signing, you don't want to show flashes, you want to show sustainability, you want to show consistency.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was able to do that.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. And I think whilst we've got this opportunity to talk about footballers, because the thing is, when we look at a footballer, it's a clinical life, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm a footballer, I'm famous, I've got a bit of money. But what are also some of the realities that go with that? And I think I'd like to be able to do, because not many people ever really get inside the lives of real footballers, okay? Was it all, you know, Utopia moments? Does that mean? This is it, I've made it, I mean, I'm at the pinnacle, I'm playing Birmingham City, record signing, okay? Or did that also come with its own pressures? Not just the pressures of obviously the expectation of, scoring goals and things like that, but were there also other lows that come with being at the top of your game and things like that people need to understand that it's not, you know, all what you see. There is another side to that life as well.
Yeah. I mean, again, for me, I suppose the worst thing that could have happened to me by playing football is that I'd done the unexpected.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have no real support system in my life, right? I mean, my mum and my mum's relation, we were good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But at that stage, I've been in prison 5 times. I've come out and I'm now starting to play football.
Yeah.
There was no one that could really come close to me to start to talk to me about life and how to handle your money and everything.
Yeah.
Because who dare do that?
Yeah.
If you wasn't there in my struggle, how dare you come and step to me now that I'm doing well? So that was a struggle because I didn't have no one to sit down with and to kind of say, hey, how can I start to build my life in a sort of a way? So the pressures that I experience is that, you know, it was utopia moments in terms of playing football because money was not an object.
Yeah.
Everywhere I was going, I was recognised.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I had women
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
But in reflection, I was now playing up to that kind of a image.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the hangers-ons that comes with it. And by playing up to that image, I think that kind of took my eye off the ball in terms of football. Because I wasn't as focused as I was when I was playing at Southend.
So, yeah.
Do you understand what I'm
But
saying?
you still had that drive to still...
Yeah.
I've still got to prove myself. I've still got to prove myself.
Because now, you know, I was earning good money.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought that people who were my friends weren't my friends.
Yeah.
I'm in the city, I don't know no one.
Yeah.
And that kind of took my focus off. Yes, there was utopia moments.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, there was still something missing, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? For me, I just felt at that time, this is life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm driving a BMW convertible.
Yeah.
I'm living in Sutton Coldfield.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The most desirable area in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got money. I've got women. I've got the popularity and the fame. So for me, yeah, that was the Utopia moment.
Yeah.
But I always felt that there was something missing, but I just couldn't put my finger on it.
Something drawing. And I think this is the thing. Let's talk about that, because I think people are always trying to allude to that. If I obtain all this, I'm going to be 100% fulfilled. But you still wasn't fulfilled. Is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that alludes to obviously.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
Do you know I always had a fear throughout my whole career playing football that I would lose it.
Yeah. Did that strive to make you better, or because sometimes that don't want to lose it. Let me keep on working.
Do you know the
hard.
funny thing is, it didn't really strive me to do better.
Yeah.
Because I was caught in the mixture of playing football, but living up to a different reputation now as a footballer.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I always felt that I'm going to lose it.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose it. And no matter how much times I thought about it, it was just something that I couldn't shake off.
Yeah.
I don't know why, when, I just knew I was going to lose it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? For some reason, I just didn't think I would have that perfect retirement kind of a football as some do. And I don't know why. I now know why, but at the time, I didn't know why. I think for me, when I played for Birmingham City, I was living the Utopia life.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, this is it.
Yeah.
So I live it to my full. But by living it to my full, I wasn't as focused as I should have been to take my career to the next level.
And I think this is the thing. One of the things I want to say is that when you was in jail, you had that influence of those people.
Yeah.
So you came out, the influence of your mom helped as well.
Yeah.
But it's always important to be in the right environment.
Absolutely. And
to
I
have
didn't
good
have
advisors.
that.
And to have a look at that. So that's an important thing to talk about.
And I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. And again, because of where I was coming from, right, I don't think anyone felt that they could be that person because, you know, again, I've been in prison 5 times, come out, you know, done the unexpected.
Yeah.
So a lot of people kind of probably would have felt a little bit like, you know. And again, I didn't have close people around me.
Yeah.
Close people, because remember, other than my mum and my brothers, right, my friends and all that was back in London.
Yeah.
Remember, I already knew that they wasn't really my friends, but I took them on the journey with me because, you know, they were there, but they wasn't really my friends. So, I didn't really have that one individual that could have helped me to sustain that lifestyle and take it to the next level. So, you know, the partying, the womenizing, and everything that went with that lifestyle, it was having its toll on my career.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let's talk about now. So obviously, you had your time at Birmingham City, and obviously every footballer's time comes to an end.
Absolutely.
What do you now do? Where did what happens now in this new chapter then? So you've had all these chapters so far. Now you're on a new journey. What happens at the end of football? Because this is the thing that was driving you now. This was the thing that was pushing you. This is what I'm going to do now. What do you do at the end of that? Because it does come to an end, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You can't play forever.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, I got an injury while I was on loan at Notts County.
Yeah.
When I'd done my cruciate, my cartilage, my meniscus and everything. And at the time, the doctors and that were saying, yeah, we can sort out this injury, you can play again. But something in me knew that this was it.
Yeah. It
was over. I wasn't going to play football again.
Yeah.
And for those 2 years, because I had a little bit of money, I was still trying to live the lifestyle.
Yeah.
But as the money was dwindling, I found myself almost starting to think on a criminal aspect again.
Yeah.
Because now I wasn't earning the money.
Yeah.
And I was living on my savings. As I saw my money dwindling, I started thinking about, you know, pulling off a couple of moves to try and raise that money again.
Yeah.
So those 2 years was a kind of a blur.
Yeah.
In terms of I was just relaxing and just living life, but not earning no money. But I didn't realise I was going through a stripping process.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I finished my career, I always knew in some capacity that I wanted to work with offenders again.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously what I know.
Yeah.
It's what I understand. And because I look back on my life, been in prison 5 times and played football, you know, there's 2 massive dimensions, isn't it?
Yeah.
From one scale to the other. So I always felt that, you know, I'm best served being able to work with like-minded people because I understand it. So for me, I wanted to do what I was doing when I was in prison the last time as a gym orderly.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So for me, it was about thinking to myself, how can I get that job again, but this time not as a prisoner?
Yeah.
Do you know? And at the time, my cousin, who was living in London at the time, he was working for the probation service. So he kind of knew my dreams that I would have liked to work with offenders. So he was a programs facilitator. So he phoned me up one day and said to me, so he said, Rick, look, check the papers, go to the probation service. This is a job that will suit you as a program facilitator, where you'll deliver certain programs. So, you know, I kept my eye on the probation, and when the opportunity came up, I applied for the job. Remember, this is my first job ever in my life. That's what I'm saying. But I think the service has changed a lot as well, because now the probation service and most organisations now, they're happy to employ people even if they have a criminal record now. So that helped me. That, in fairness, it didn't really ever deter me. Because I knew I could rely on Ricky Otto as the ex-footballer that will probably open the door. So I applied for the job and got the job, and I was delivering programs to offenders. So we would deliver the Think First program, domestic violence program, anger management program, the offender substance abuse program, all kind of programs. And this is when I really started to work at great lengths with the prolific persistent offenders. Do you know what I mean? But I was having a blast.
So this is the funny thing isn't it? Is that you've almost come like 360 from someone helping you in the jail. Those two guys who walked in, you're now walking into their cells, but in a different capacity.
Absolutely.
You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
And being that same voice of reason, say, I did it, you can do it.
Absolutely. And that's what it was. And you know, I worked for the probation for 6 years, but I think it was after 2 years working for the probation service that I realised that I can do this myself. Because still in me, I always felt that while I was playing football, there was something bigger that was going to happen in my life. Right? So I still felt like there was something more for me to do. Now that I looked at Ricky Otto as the criminal, Ricky Otto as the footballer, now I'm looking at Ricky Otto as the motivational speaker, the ex-Connect footballer, come straight full circle to work with like-minded people. So whilst working for the probation, I realised that, you know, I can do this myself. And therefore I started to build my own empowerment programs.
And obviously you've got all this experience now, and now you're looking to put it into the business that you were telling me about. Living experience connections. So tell me what you're looking to do with this now, because it sounds like you've been able to take all your experiences, football, crime, everything, obviously your first job, as you mentioned, and now put it into this business. What are you looking to do with that now? What's the...
Well, living experience connections, what we do is build and facilitate empowerment programs for offenders and those on the periphery of offending. And obviously it's just a culmination really of what I was doing for the probation service. I just felt that in the probation service they were more focused on attrition rates. They wasn't really focused on really making positive changes in the offenders' lives. So, you know, this always needled me, because I realised at this stage that I wanted to make a positive impact in people's lives. So I left the probation service. Well, I left the probation service to go and study my degree in theology. But
which is fantastic, by the way.
Absolutely.
You're in BA, and I know you want to do your PhD.
Yes, absolutely.
So fantastic.
But I left the probation service because I felt I can do just as good a job doing it for myself. So me and my wife, we formed Living Experience Connections, and we started to build our own programs so that we can get back to the well-being of the offender, because I truly believe that everyone's good at something. Right? All I'm doing, I'm just regurgitating me. Do you understand? I was good at football, and I was able to take the necessary steps to achieve my goals. So part of our program is like a motivational tool to help people to focus on the cognitive process, their cognitive distortions, their harmful beliefs, and their risky thoughts. Because what I help them to understand now is that your thoughts have an impact on your emotions, and what you're feeling will be demonstrated in your behaviour. And once they start to understand their cognition, they'll start to realise their harmful beliefs and their risky thoughts about the way they live. And that's what we do in our programs. We help them to see these changes, to see these mindsets, but we also encourage them to believe that they can make changes in their lives.
That's a big thing, isn't it?
And that's the big thing.
Because you might be the first person that they've come in contact with that tells them, you know what, you can actually be someone.
Absolutely. Well, you know, bottom line is, when I tell them who I am and where I'm coming from, they really ain't got no excuse. Do you understand? Because I still know that what I went through is a lot worse than what they're going through right now. But I'm able to help them to see how I made my transformation from crime to football and to where I am today. And it kind of motivates them and empowers them to believe
Fantastic.
that they can do this too.
Yeah.
So in our programs, you know, we take them through SMART goals.
Yeah.
We help them to look at the steps that they need to take in order to make positive changes in their lives.
Well, here's the thing now. Looking at everything that you're saying right now, looking back at everything that happened, can you see it now as a blessing? Because at the time when you're going through it, you think, oh, my life is just cursed. But you've been able to turn what was a negative. You've turned around labels of being a repeat offender to be this thing that accumulates now, not just in the football, but it sounds even more important, a tool that now goes on to bless other people. Can you see how it's all...
Absolutely, and I feel it's only right that I say that looking on my life now, I now realise that everything has been by the grace of God.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because the whole coming from prison to football and to now have my own business really only started to take shape when I became a Christian.
How long have you been saved?
I've been a Christian now 8 years.
Fantastic.
8 years. And in that time, God has had to transform me even more from the inside to where I am today. Yeah. God had to give me this vision of knowing who I am in His eyes instead of my own eyes, so that I can now see what Ricky Otto has to do. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So are you saying that you're, you know, because obviously to the world, you got the labels: footballer, okay, criminal, mischievous child, okay. Yeah. You're saying that obviously God spoke to you about who you are. Just elaborate, because what does that mean? If I'm watching this video and I'm saying, well, I know you're a footballer, or not, what's God saying? Who's God saying that you are?
Well, for years I was thinking to myself, you know, this is strange, you know, committing crime, then playing football. Yeah. Where is my life going? Yeah. Do you know, what is my purpose in life? I always felt that when I was playing football, that something bigger was going to happen in my life. Yeah. And many times when I used to think this, I used to hear God saying, I'm going to serve Him. Yeah. And I used to shrug off that thought, because at the time it wasn't cool to be a Christian. Yeah, yeah. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to be a Christian. I was godly. I believed in God. Yeah. But I didn't want to be a Christian. I thought people would laugh at me. Yeah, yeah. You know. But then when I surrendered to God, and I started to, you know, build my relationship with God. Yeah. God started to show me who I am in His eyes, and started to make sense of my whole life in terms of what God wanted me to do and who He wanted me to be. So now I was able to look at my past, my you know, in terms of my crime and my football, and now see how God has fashioned it all together. That I am now who I am, building a company to be able to motivate and empower people who were just like myself 20 years ago. Yeah.
So you can take any situation and turn it for good.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter where you start, any situation.
And that's who God is. That's who God is, isn't it? You know, what was meant for evil is meant for good. Yeah, so everything now that I am now is because I now know who I am in God. Fantastic. Do you understand? Yeah. And all I'm doing now, I'm just like living the revelation that God has given me to be able to take my life and my company forward, so that, you know, people can really start to make positive changes in their lives.
And what we'll do on this video, we will put your details. You've got a website and things like that, so people always want to have a look at what you're doing and things like that. We can put that on the video at the bottom of the screen and show people. But as we close this interview, and it's been an amazing story. Like, I knew some of it, but I didn't know all of it. I've been blessed. Okay, but if someone watching this right now, maybe they're in jail, maybe somehow they're looking at this video right now in jail, or maybe there's someone who feels they don't fit in the school system, or whatever it may be. What words of wisdom would you leave them with, like, right now? What would be your closing statement to them to help them or motivate them?
My closing statement would have to be the one that triggered me into action. Yeah. And that would be to say to those that are in prison, to those that are in school, whether you're underachieving, those that are in contact with their families, whether it's their mum or their dad, whatever your situation is, my encouragement to you would be what those two men said to me in prison. Yeah. Don't serve the time. Let the time serve you. So if you're in prison, don't serve that time. Yeah. But use that time to prepare yourself for the goals that you're going to make for yourself. Yeah. If you're out on the street, don't serve this time right now sitting on the Xbox, sitting down watching MTV, sitting down playing on your BlackBerry, you know. what you want to do is let the time serve you. Focus on your goal and take the necessary steps to your goal. Because I know it sounds like a cliche, but these cliches are very true. Yeah. If I can do it,
no, Seth,
do I need to finish that off?
You can do it. You can do it. I'm a believer.
And I truly believe that. I believe in change because God has changed my life.
Yeah.
So my encouragement would to say, listen, whatever your interests are, whatever it is that you like doing, start to look at the steps that you can take to do it.
Yeah.
Don't serve this time.
Yeah.
Let this time serve you. And believe you me, you will get something out of it.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you,
sir.
God bless
you.
Right.
Bless you.
Hopefully, but I know, I was about to say hopefully you'll be inspired. I know you should be inspired. That has been an incredible interview. Now, I was almost at the end of this trying to think what to say, but I think it's already been said. You know, there is no excuse for you not to go and achieve your purpose. If Ricky did it, as he said, so can you. But the great thing is that I just want to let you guys know, every month we'll be bringing you videos like this. But also once a month what we have is a thing called Gen Meet, where we come together for inspiration, okay, motivation, but also accountability. And people like Ricky and other people will be coming and guest speaking at those meetings. So check out the website, obviously www.gen-hope.co.uk to find out more information. Once again, thank you very much for visiting us, and we'll see you soon.